Hey friend! It is time for my May wrap up. I cannot believe that May is over, but these are all of my books. I actually had a pretty decent month. I'm not gonna say it was a good month because 2 of these I unfortunately had to DNF, but the other books that I did get through, really enjoyed them. So I'm not like the biggest Colleen Hoover reader. When I first got into reading, of course, a lot of my books that I bought were Colleen. I have a whole shelf of almost her entire backlist, but this month I decided to pick one up. And I kind of want to finish all of them just because I only have like 3 left. So I think I might do a video of that, like a whole day of reading Colleen, because I get through her books super quick just because, I don't know, they are so insane that I'm just like keep turning the page and wondering what in the world am I going to read next. But this month I did read Layla. I enjoyed this one. It was very all over the place. Like, I was like, again, what am I reading? Like, what is happening? What is the next thing that's going to be like an issue or a discovery or whatever? Riley read this first, and he was one that told me I had to pick it up because he also was like reading it in a class he was taking, and he was like, what is going on? But if you've never read Layla, it is about a couple, Layla and I forgot his name, Leeds, yes, Leeds and Layla. They meet at her sister's wedding, and he's part of the band that is playing at he's part of the band that's playing at his sister's wedding, and they end up hooking up and falling in love. And then right when their life is really about to begin together, his ex-girlfriend finds a picture on Instagram they posted that was like them kind of solidifying their relationship. She comes to their house and does something horrific, and yeah, I was like, what? Like, just that was like, excuse me? And if you have any issues with firearm violence, there you go. So I was like, wow, okay. Then we are watching Layla cling on to life. She makes her return into the regular, you know, day-to-day life they had, but she's different. So Leeds is like, okay, let's go on our anniversary trip. Let's take it back to the start. Her family comes in and out of town. They're all trying to just like really get her back into the groove of life, because they're like, okay, she's acting weird, so she might just be traumatized. Duh. Willow, and they're like messaging back and forth on his like computer, because apparently she can like click the keys and talk back and forth. He's trying to find out what happened to Willow. Was she real at one point, or was she just happened to be a spirit? And he starts falling in love with Willow, and then so now you're like, what is going on, bro? You are falling in love with this ghost, and your girl's right there. Then Willow finds out she can take over Layla's body. So now they're taking over Layla's body to hang out together and chit chat. And it's like, what is happening? Like, are you okay? So yeah, needless to say, I finished this all in one day because I was just like, what is happening? Like, why are we falling in love with the ghost? Aren't we about to get married to Layla? But why is Layla acting like she doesn't remember anything that ever happened? Because I certainly remember, because I just read it. So how is she not following? Yeah. Wow. Okay, so I will have to give this 3 stars. 3 because of just the pure like entertainment, but I don't know if entertainment's the right word, because I was just like in shock. Not to mention, I'm not even gonna tell you that. If you want to read this book, there's actually a whole lot I didn't tell you. Ironically, when you hear all this I just told you, it's actually not a spoiler at all, because then it's like, what do we do from here? Do with that as you wish. But wow. Next, I picked up If He Had Been With Me. I actually loved this book, okay? I filmed how many books I could read in a week. I'm gonna have to pick up that video because it kind of fell off. And this was one of the books I picked up. This had me so messed up. I was literally sobbing when the end of the chapter, or like the book, came. I was like, okay, this isn't that bad. Like the whole book, I was like, I really don't see why everyone's like having a breakdown. What's so bad about this? What is like really getting you and your like emotional feels? And then the last like 60 pages happened, and when I tell you that I was sobbing, This like literally changed everything for me, and honestly my reading went downhill after this book because it literally put me in a reading slump because of how emotionally jacked up it had me. I was literally so shaken because, like I said, I was going through this whole book. This book is 391 pages long, and when I tell you that I went through this whole book like, oh my gosh, this is like actually really cute, because it is a dual timeline. You're following Autumn and Finn. They used to be inseparable. Then as they got older and they got into high school, they got into 2 different friend groups. He was more popular and she was kind of the same, more or less. And they just did a mix of friend groups. Were kind of like rivals in the school because they were like too cool in Autumn's friend group, and then his friends were actually too cool. So they always had like this weird, like, our friends don't like each other, but when we go home, our moms are having dinner together every night. We've grown up together, and just like more so in private, we're always spending time together. But it was still kind of awkward because they weren't actually like best friends anymore. And Autumn has obviously always had a thing for Finn because, I mean, I feel like that just happens when you spend so much time with someone. And she was kind of always awkward with him. And then as the book carries on, you kind of see now in the present where he's kind of like trying to drop little hints like, I care about you. You know, he made his girlfriend like stop bullying her at school, and she couldn't really figure out why he did that for her. And then you're sitting there like, duh, open your eyes. And she was dating this guy during this. In the present, she's dating this boy in her friend group who is like really getting on my nerves like the whole book. He's like the typical, like, I don't know, like douchebag. Like, he's like the group leader, and he keeps pushing the issue about, you know, like getting together at prom, getting together a year from now, getting together and like, you know, being like all the other couples. And Autumn's just kind of like, she's not really feeling it that much with him, but she feels like she should be because that's her boyfriend. So they keep setting these timelines of when they're going to have sex, and then obviously every time it comes around they never do, and we all can kind of pick up what goes on. I think if you've like just really known a boy like that, you know where that's starting to go the more that she pushes it off. Not that she shouldn't, but I was just like, I had enough with him. Once we started doing the timelines, I was like, bro, you just need to let her live her life, and when it happens organically, it's going to happen. That's what she was always saying. And he was always just like, well, so-and-so and so-and-so are doing this, and like they've been together for longer than us, they've been together less time than us. Like, leave her alone. Anyway, I really liked Finn. I thought he was super cute. He really cared about her. There were times where her boyfriend was kind of pushing the issue. They had like a house party, whatever, and he was like, let's go upstairs, I'll meet you upstairs, blah blah. And Finn was like, you need to promise me that you're not going to do this while you're intoxicated. Like, you need to promise me that it's going to be special. You need to promise me that you're going to take care of yourself, and it's going to be a good, safe environment, basically where you're able to actually give consent. And I just really love that. I love that he rescued her from a clearly not good guy. But yeah, I really liked Finn and Autumn together, and this book destroyed me. It destroyed me. I was like, what does that mean when it's like, if he had been with me, I found out. So really did put me in a reading slump. But before that, I read Love in Other Words, and I ate this book up. I loved this so much. I was so scared to read this book because it's just everyone's favorite. Everyone loves this. It's just like, I don't know, when you think of Christina Lauren, I feel like a lot of people think of Love in Other Words just from how much people rave about this. And I could see why. This was also a dual timeline. It was also second chance romance. The two in this book, Macy and Elliot, I feel like they were like Finn and Autumn, but on steroids. Like, Elliot is so, oh my god, he is so incredible. And I feel like I vibed with this more because this is definitely like more YA, and then this is like, they're my age, if not a little bit older than me, so I really liked this second chance a lot more. They were each other's, you know, first of everything. They were, again, childhood best friends. When her mom passed away, they moved to his neighborhood, and then they just started becoming really close friends, reading books all the time when they were younger, just really having innocent fun. And it was just so cute to read. In the past timeline, you start from when they're like not even in high school yet, and then all the way until they're in high school, and then when they have their big thing that kind of like makes them not speak for 10 years, and now in the present they're middle-aged 20s, middle-aged 20s, they're in their mid-20s. Oh my gosh, they're in their mid-20s. She's actually engaged and he is single. Well, he was dating someone, but he's single now, and it's kind of just like he wants to pick up where they left off. Like, he's like, I never stopped thinking about you all these years, and I just can't believe I ran into you. And he kind of stayed in the same area once he went to college, hoping that maybe at some point they would meet up again. And I think that was the most heartbreakingly beautiful thing I have ever heard of a male in a book doing, ever. I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean you've been here all this time, hoping that maybe at some point in her adulthood or maybe in college she picked the same area and is still there? I was, this had me shaking. I was just like, oh my god. Even when her adult friends met Elliot, they were me. They were like, oh my god, are you kidding me? And you're bringing this guy to our cookouts instead of Elliot? Like, oh, he was just so perfect, and they were just, he was so caring, so sweet. He really pulled her out of her shell. This is definitely gonna be like a reread for me. This is, I wanna go back and annotate it. I started annotating just with like my little highlighter pen, but I fell off eventually because I was just too busy eating it up, so I just fell off with annotating it. But this is such a good read and so freaking worth it, and I wish I hadn't been so scared of it all this time. I have a few books that are just so like popular, so well loved, that I just get really scared of opening them up, and now I feel like I need to just rip through all of them now, because I feel like I'm cheating myself. We all know that I read Happy Place this year. Whoa! We all know that I read Happy Place this month. I did a reading vlog about this. I really enjoyed it. However, now that I've had more time to kind of sit on it and think back to it, I don't take back any of the valuable lesson portion of what I said about this book. I feel like it is a really good reminder of the importance of being true to yourself inside of your personal relationships and being open about what's going on in your life, and just, you know, not being afraid to change and grow as a person, or in your platonic relationships or in your romantic relationships. I feel like it was a really good reminder of that. However, now that I have thought more about the whole like found family aspect of like their friend group, I really don't see how they were lifelong best friends when all of them literally could not tell each other what was going on in their personal lives. Like, I just personally, I would not call that a best friend. If I'm keeping something from you, you're just kind of like, I don't know, not a side friend, but you know when you have your best friends and you're just always going to be raw and real and honest, and I just couldn't really see how that was them when like not one single person in this group had something that they were just completely open about. Like, we had a fake dating trope, we had I feel like I don't want to air out other people's business because that's kind of something you find out when you're reading, but let me just, not a single person was being honest about what was going on in their lives, and in multiple layers of their life too, like the personal life, the romantic relationships, their professional life. Like, I was just I'm kind of confused now at how I got bamboozled into believing that they were just lifelong besties. They're all definitely in their early 30s too, so it's like, how have you been friends since college and like you can't tell them that you don't like being a doctor? Like, but I do think this was a really cute book. I thought it was a really nice summer read. It gave off all the little summer vibes, obviously. But yeah, that part did have me a little bit confused. So I am gonna have to lower my rating of this to a 4. Now to the 2 books I DNF'd. So first I have You Love Me by Caroline Kempis. Anyway, this is the author of the You series. If you watch You on Netflix, it's one of my favorite shows. I live and breathe and love Penn Badgley, so I follow him to the ends of the earth. Not always do I feel like I'm really connecting with You, but I love him, so I stay for him. However, I cannot connect with the books and I get so upset about it. But I think it has a lot to do with just the writing style. I feel like definitely the TV adaptation of this is a lot more digestible for, you know, the general public. I felt like, first of all, the print is super small and it covers the whole entire page, and the chapters were honestly pretty long, and that's just like a recipe for disaster for me. I don't know, I can't do it. And honestly, the chapters weren't very long. It was just the print and the reading made it feel really long, if you know what I'm saying. And I don't know, I got like, I want to say I got like 24. I got like 6 chapters in. Yep, I got 6 chapters in, and I don't know, I just couldn't really do it anymore. I felt like we were taking a really long time to get into like what's going on, like what is Joe's thing. Like if you watch you know Joe always has something going on. He always has some obsession. He always has, you know, some type of drama, and I felt like we were taking a really long time to set the stage for that, whereas I think I'm used to in the show us getting like maybe a 10-minute little setup and then we're into it, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think the books are so much for me for that reason. I'm more of a, I want to be just right into the story when I read a like thriller mystery, which I feel like is exactly what the U-books are. And it just took a little too long for that for me, so I did DNF this. There was no way I was gonna be able to push through it, unfortunately, too, so she had to go. But it doesn't mean I don't think Caroline's a good author. I think she's good for a lot of people, and you know, it's funny because down here it says fast-paced, and that just wasn't my experience. But we all have different reading experiences, so for you this might be perfect pace, but for me it was just a little bit slow. Lastly, I feel kind of scared bringing this up. I don't mean to bash Emily Henry, and I don't feel like I am. I'm just expressing my feelings. However, this was a really loved book of hers, and I just really couldn't do it, and I don't know why. I wasn't connecting with the characters. I really tried. Listen, I tell you, I picked this book up 5 different times this month to try to get through it. I tried. I gave it my best effort, and I just couldn't, but I had to DNF beach read, and I know, I'm so sorry, but this is about Augustus, and I forgot her name. See, it just wasn't even like sticking in my brain. I found myself more so zoning out and like reading the words, you know what I'm saying? But I wasn't actually reading the words, and I caught myself doing that way too often. I got 100 pages in, and I was just like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like, it's okay. I was really trying to get through just because of how much people love it, and I just really wanted to be on some like Emily Henry wave this month, and maybe sometime in the future I could pick this up again, but this is my 2nd time in 2 years trying to give this a month-long go, so it might just not be for me. But anyways, they are 2 authors. They also knew each other in their past. They're kind of like academic rivals, and now that they have the same professional life, they go into like a little deal that he's gonna try to write romance and she's gonna try to write fiction, his genre, because they're both in like a writing slump, and whoever wins, you know, whoever publishes their book and the book who gets more sales, that person gets to take like all the credit as far as like, you know, behind the scenes. Wait, this made more sense in my brain. So if Augustus writes her book and her book does really well, then she has to go on her personal account, and yes, okay, so then she has to go on her personal account and promote Augustus's works. Odds are, if you're gonna like her book, you're really gonna like his writing because, hello, he wrote it. So that's the whole thing. Anyways, that's gonna turn off in a second. Okay, so yeah, I had to DNF this, unfortunately. I just wasn't really vibing with it. I really wish I was. I wasn't connecting with the characters like I hoped I would. And I feel like for a lot of us, that does it for a whole read, like really vibing with the characters, the plot, all of that stuff. And I just wasn't, and it made me really sad, honestly, because I really wanted to be able to say I read this, because a lot of people, when it's summertime, I feel like a lot of people pick up Emily Henry, and I just couldn't do it. Doesn't mean eventually someday I will find a perfect read from her for me, but it just hasn't happened yet. But these are all my books that I read this month. I had a decent month. I'm looking forward to June. I have some really good reads that I'm really excited about. Obviously, I'm a mood reader too, so whenever I do a TBR, it's fun, but it does not always mean that that's what I'm going to read. However, I would say 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5. I can't remember if this was on my May TBR or not, but no, it wasn't. anyways, I read four of my books on my TBR last month, so I do it, you know, but you know, they were fun. It was a fun month nonetheless, and you know, we can always have a better time this month. I really want to finish some of my series this month too, so we'll see. I hope you guys had a great May reading month. I hope you just had a good month of May to begin with, and I will see you at the end of June for another recap.